Greetings everybody, my name's Tommy the Game Master, and this week I'm taking a trip to the world of my first JRPG on the NES. Neither of those actually. You see, your Game Master here, he cut his teeth on another RPG series growing up. He cut his teeth on the mean streets of River City Ransom. You see, my first JRPG was about beating up school kids and taking their lunch money more than it was about finding crystals or rescuing damsels in distress from dragons. River City Ransom is a perfect example of how you can throw in some core JRPG mechanics into a fighting brawling game and have it turn out to be really fun. And it was really fun, and it's still one of my favorite games on the NES. And while the series has been somewhat popular in Japan, where it's called Kunio-ku, it was spinning several spin-offs and sequels over the last 30 years. It really has been dormant in the West for the last couple of decades. Or at least it was until a few years ago when Arc System Works picked up the developers and acquired the rights to it. And this week we're going to be covering a few of the games that have been released in the last few years. There's been plenty, including an entire compilation of old Kunio games that never hit American shores on the Nintendo Switch and PS4. But since I haven't had a time to actually get that game, I'm going to be just sticking to the American version of River City Ransom for the time being. First up on our trip through River City will be probably the best in the series I played since the original game. Coming from Wayforward, who teamed up with a few of the developers who brought us River City Underground, comes River City Girls. Let's play through this and see if it's worth the $20 I spent on it during the Steam Summer Sale, shall we? As excellent as the rest of the game is, I gotta say the worst part of this game is its story. Okay, so the game starts off with two girls named Misako and Kyoko who are getting detention. They're bored to tears until Kyoko gets a text that shows Kunio and Riki have been kidnapped. Oh, and if you can tell the difference between this picture that is shown in the actual story and this one that was shown in the trailer and the opening music video, you're already 90% of the way to getting the ending joke. Yeah, I get it. It's almost clever for Wayforward to use the fact that a lot of the older fans of this series, including me, know the Americanized River City Ransom, but wouldn't get the Japanese Kunio-kun references, and that neither Misako or Kyoko were named Cindy in River City Ransom. Hell, unless you look it up, you probably wouldn't know that the second boss with the magical powers is in fact the final boss in River City Ransom. Yes, this is Simon. Problem is that the ending is still a huge letdown. In fact, so huge and so not funny that Wayforward had to patch in a second, slightly different ending to deal with the fact that people were kinda pissed about it. But what about the rest of the story? While the ending might end in a really lame gag, getting there is still a lot of fun. Watching Misako and Kyoko traverse all the different areas of River City and talk to different people is still kind of fun. Not only do we see a lot of River City Ransom cameos, but a lot of Double Dragon cameos as well. The Lee brothers operate the dojos. Abobo's one of the bosses. Linda's an enemy. And heck, even Skullmageddon makes a cameo appearance. I found myself laughing plenty of times while going through this game and enjoying it right up into the end. Quite literally. Oh, and I should mention one thing. Even though the ending's a bit lame, stick around for the credits. Wayforward has another really funny song at the end of the credits. It's not as good as Skullmageddon's credits song during Double Dragon Neon, but it still made me laugh quite a bit. So definitely worth sticking around for the credit scene. The ending may be a groaner, but the music parody at the very end during the credits is not. So stick around and watch the credits. Trust me on that.
Good class of girl who can kick my ass. Need myself a River City girl.
Let's talk about the gameplay in this game. Other than the first stage, which is a bit of a pain to get through the first time because what River City Ransom's main mechanics have always been has been on the shopping to improve your characters, and you don't get to go to the mall until after you beat Mizuho here. But after you beat the first boss, the game opens up and gets a lot more fun. The game isn't open world quite like the original River City Ransom, Rather, you go through the game in stages. Each stage has an objective like getting the mall to open or finding a golden cat statue to give to the fashion designer that needs to happen to get the boss to appear. There are other hidden missions given out by Godai when you meet them for a little extra cash or some experience. Other than that, going back to the dojos or buying something from a certain shop, there's not much reason to backtrack in the game. Most objectives are completed in the stages they are in, making the game a bit more linear feeling than what the original River City Ransom was. It's not bad though, because the pacing is great, and while you may not be able to backtrack as much as some of the objectives in the original, you will be needing to explore each area thoroughly to accomplish your objectives, and each area is fairly well sized. As far as the combat goes, it's pretty fun. As you level up, you'll learn a few new moves, or you can purchase them at the dojos. The moves come from your basic quick attack to your more brutal fierce attacks, and then your special gauge depleting special attacks. Once you unlock all your moves, the game gives you a wide variety to beat your foes up. I should also mention that some enemies can be recruited. When you see them beg for mercy, you can go up to them and press the LB button and they will join your ranks. They can be summoned by a press of a button to do special attacks before leaving, but they can only take a few hits before you lose them permanently. And the enemy selection is wide enough, from frat boys to cheerleaders to masked wrestlers and Terminators, complete with bad Jay Leno Arnold impersonation sound effects. Yeah, it increases the goofiness to about 11. Plenty of different enemies to beat up on. Now for the only bad thing I can say about the gameplay. It's something that's becoming a bit of a trope when it comes to Wayforward games, and it's getting kind of old, and that is the MacGuffin hunt. In this case, it comes with these statues you have to break. In order to get the new, better, and less insulting ending, you got to find and break all 25 of these statues in order to find both the Asabi and Miki pendants in order to fight them, and get a good fourth wall breaking line before the boss battle too. If you want that different ending, you gotta go after these statues. It's really annoying and kind of boring. Just get a guide and spend a tedious half hours going back to the different places just to find the statues you missed. I would have preferred more missions with Godai or something more of substance than just breaking statues. I really do hate these MacGuffin fetch quests that Wayforward likes to put in their games. It is kind of getting annoying, mainly because they've proven to be better developers than those that need to really stoop to this level in order to expand the gameplay. One last thing I should mention too. When you do beat the game the first time, you will unlock a new Game Plus mode that will allow you to play as both Kunio and Ricky. So if you are someone who would prefer to play with good old Alex and Ryan, they are optional unlockable characters you can get too, and I do love that bonus. Kunio-kun games have always had some very similar art designs, at least all the ones I've played. I guess a few of the Japanese-only games did try to change it up, but they've always kind of looked like this. With Wayforward in the mix, we now have an art style that looks amazingly retro, but with a lot more detail than past River City Ransom games. And the art style, from the character designs to the animation, is flawless. I just love this pixelated art style that they choose for the game, and I think it's gorgeous. I just hope that some of the Japanese developers don't get jealous of this game's art style and try to do something half-assed in an attempt to upstage Wayforward, because that could lead to something awful. But seriously, the graphics, the areas, the designs of the characters, they're just all really fun, and the art style is gorgeous. I just love the way this game looks. Wayforward always has some really great music in their games, and this doesn't disappoint, with some remix of some classic River City Ransom tunes, to some newly composed music, to even some with lyrics. It all really sounds good and fits the stage and the moment. Voice acting in the game is also top notch. I have no complaints with the way the actresses read the scripts, and the humor and the comic timing was always spot on.
What? Watch it, creep! I almost tore your head off!
Oh! I'm no creep! I'm Godai!
Is that supposed to mean?
So is River City Girls worth $30? Hell yes! It's the best follow-up to River City Ransom that I've played so far. The action is good, the music is great, the JRPG elements are sound, and the story, yeah, let's just forget about the story. It's still one of the best follow-ups to River City Ransom, and the first one that I've seen that surpassed Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. And since we technically can't play that one anymore, I'm so glad that this one is available. Well, thank you so much for listening to this review. Please like and share it. You guys have a wonderful day, and thank you so much for watching this video. Next, I'm going to be looking at a not-so-great River City Ransom sequel. In fact, it's probably the worst game I've seen from this franchise. Let's talk about Stay Cool Kobayashi, a River City Ransom story. Be looking for that one soon. You guys have a wonderful day.